Hello and welcome to Won't Be Forgetting That, a podcast talking about all of the most awkward and embarrassing moments of people working in the arts and entertainment industry. I'm your podcast host, Seb Muirhead, and today we have a guest. They are a comedian, a musician, a writer, Cameron James.
Thank you so much for having me. And just before we start properly, can I just say... Yes. You're so jacked, dude. What's going on?
Thank you. I did wear a tank top today just to show off. It's also like 30 degrees down here in Melbourne. For a little peek behind the curtain for all the beautiful perverts listening, we are doing this over Google Meet. Little shout out to Google Meet there, unless it shits the bed halfway through.
Shout out.
But I'm fucking sweating. So,
dude. Hang on, how hot is it in Melbourne? Did you say 30 degrees?
30, yeah.
It's so funny that I was in Melbourne a few weeks ago and it was 30 degrees and people were freaking out.
Yeah,
and
it's so funny.
It's regularly 33, 32 here in Sydney, and that's just kind of normal weather for us. But 30 in Melbourne may as well be the apocalypse.
I know, right? It was because everyone loves to wear their baggy black clothes down in Melbourne, whereas you go up to Sydney, everyone's dressed nice, and you're like, oh, this is what people are meant to look like when they're enjoying themselves, is it? But I was also up in Sydney a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I think one day it was like 32 degrees. I was wearing a pair of jeans, and I was like, I think I might just lie down in the gutter and die. This is unacceptable.
It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, I'll say that as someone who's lived in this country my entire life, the only time I ever felt completely comfortable with the weather was when I spent a month in Scotland.
Yeah.
And that was, honestly, I felt like, oh my God, this is where I belong. This is where I'm supposed to be.
I think this is where most people are meant to be. I am obviously from Scotland myself originally. So, like, escaping, I want to say, and I don't mean that as a derogatory thing against Scotland. I love Scotland and the Scottish people, but it fucking sucks there, and you only know about it when you leave. Otherwise, everyone's like, yeah, we're only meant to get 3 hours of daylight a day. It's meant to rain sideways, and you're never meant to be happy. Whereas you come to Australia, you're like, fuck, I can go outside. Like, there's stuff out here. This is fun. I enjoy my life. And, like, not only that, but there's a better standard of living, and, like, everyone's not fucking eating deep-fried Mars bars every second day.
Hey, but deep-fried Mars bars are pretty good.
Are they? Did you have one, Cam? Can I ask this? Did you have one? Did you instantly regret it?
Yeah, of course. But that's part of it. That was baked into it. I knew from the moment I decided to get it that it was going to make me feel sick. I tried all... I'm friends with a Scottish comedian, Daniel Sloss, and he recommended a bunch of really cool things to do, really nice places to eat. But then he also said, make sure you do the really touristy stuff as well.
You have
a deep fried Mars bar, have deep fried pizza, do like all the classic shit in Edinburgh, and we had the best time.
Well, that's fantastic as a tourist. I've been back since I've moved. I've been in Australia for 12 years now. Going back, you're like, fuck, I've missed a deep fried Mars bar, deep fried pizza. Growing up on that stuff, I used to have a deep fried half pizza for lunch every day at school. And I was such an unhappy kid. And I was like, why? Because you never drink water and you're eating that stuff all the time. I didn't know what a fucking vegetable was before I came to this country. And this is like, I think this is an intervention now for Scottish people as well. Like, you can eat vegetables. Like, anything with colour in it doesn't have to be fried beige food.
But even I had like neeps and tatties every day, I think, when I was in Scotland. And I did put on so much weight, but I felt so good. I felt great.
You have to as well, because, eating that kind of stuff's just fucking fun anyway.
Yeah.
But you're like, you need that extra insulation because it's fucking freezing all the time there.
Yeah,
and nobody sees anyone with their clothes off as well. It's not like in Australia where you go down the beach and you're like, oh, I see people in their like swimmers. Back home, everyone's wearing like 4 layers all the time. I think even when you go to bed with someone, like, there's at least 2 layers of clothing still left on because nobody has fucking heating in their house either. But yes, sorry, I will take the compliment of somewhat being in shape. I'm actually going to return a compliment now as well, Cameron, because I like to start this show off with a compliment now for the guests, because I've realised over the episodes I've been doing that I get people on I'm generally a fan of, or I really enjoy their work, and I essentially just get them to talk about their entire low points of their career and all the worst time they've had, and kind of just make them sound like they're really shit when they're not. They're just talking about those specific moments. So I just wanted to start off by saying, and for everyone listening as well, check out your Finding series. So Finding Drago, or Drago, however you say that properly, Finding Desperado, Finding Yeezus. They're across all your podcasting platforms. The latter's on YouTube under Gress House TV. Absolutely love them. Fantastic.
Thanks so much, man. Thank you.
That's what real fucking documentary making is as well. Don't give me a making a murderer bullshit. They know the ending before they started. I want people actually discovering stuff going along. And spoiler alert, you found everything at the end as well, so it ties everything up in a nice fucking bow.
Yeah, three for three. We set out to solve a mystery and solved it each time. Pretty crazy.
And mysteries that don't need solved.
No.
But I'm really happy we're solved, I'll be honest with you. I think one of them was during the really harsh Melbourne lockdowns. And I got too invested in it. Maybe it was Finding Desperado,
I think
whichever
that would
one
have been
it was.
the one. We made that during lockdown, and it was coming out during lockdown, and we also went crazy as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, we went mad making it, and now when I listen back to it, I can hear that.
Well, I mean, it's like mental health's important, obviously, but it's also very entertaining to listen to when someone's losing their mind in a safe environment. I want to say that.
Yeah.
It was very entertaining to listen to, though. And I was also in the absolute pits of like being stuck inside 23 hours a day and just getting too invested in things that I don't want to say weren't worth investing my time in, because it very much was, but I was like, no, fuck, I need this. Like, you've got your little mini half episodes halfway through between the two major shows releasing, like, I need to know who this is, where is this person? So I got way too invested in that. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Yeah,
that's quite all right.
Yeah, it's I mean, I love true crime and I love documentary, and I listen to a lot of it. I'm actually just listening to, what's it called? It's called Welcome to Your Fantasy, and it's about the Chippendale dancers in America.
Oh, no shit.
And the kind of sordid behind-the-scenes stuff that went on in 1980s LA in the heart of male stripping. There's a bit of drugs, sex, murder. It's all very thrilling. I love it so much. And anytime I always wished I could be like a real detective or a real like crime, CSI kind of guy. But
that
I also
stuff comes with so much PTSD, though.
I know,
like,
that's the thing. I don't want that
fun stuff.
I don't want that. I don't want to ever see blood. I don't want to ever see like come across photos of a crime scene or whatever. So I'm happy to just stick with the like frivolous little bullshit that we try to solve every now and then.
Yeah, exactly. And I haven't seen the Chippendale one, but is his name Joe Magnillanelli or Magnillanello?
Oh,
I can't say it.
Joe Manganiello?
Yes, thank you. Who was in Magic Michael. He did a documentary about the original place that Magic Mike was based on.
Oh, cool.
So much better than all the films. And I quite enjoy those films as well.
Yeah, I like the
They're
films
very
a lot.
fun. But the documentary where he goes to the original place and they talk about the somewhat sordid history of it all, and it's still an operational strip club, essentially. Very fun. I would recommend that as well.
That sounds amazing. I'm adding that to my list today. That sounds great.
It used to be on Netflix. I don't know where it's gone. It's deep recesses of the internet now somewhere, but I cannot recommend that one enough as well. Man,
I'm such a sucker for that exact world, the kind of nighttime, nocturnal sleaze. It's really low-level entertainment, but everyone who's doing it still has to be pretty fucking good. Like, they've got to be pretty talented dancers. They're in great shape. They're doing sort of storytelling within the stripping. It's great. I love it.
You will love the documentary I just mentioned as well, because they hold open auditions in it for people that want to be like those Chippendale dancers, those Magic Mike dancers, and you see your general public turning up to that, and you're like, the guys that are on stage are actually incredibly talented. And you can see that beautiful juxtaposition with these fucking weirdos that just turn up for these open auditions. And I say that from the kindest possible place in my heart as well.
Of course.
We've all done that stuff before when we were younger, thinking that we could be something.
Oh my God, yeah, of course.
Maybe a little bit of a practice beforehand wouldn't go amiss. But that actually kind of beautifully segues us into the first thing I would like to talk about. Talking of the seedy underworld where it's low-level entertainment and you kind of have to be all right at it. We're both actually veterans of the restaurant theatre game. Proud to have served for your entertainment.
Wow, that's incredible. Are you allowed to say the name of the place you worked at?
So the place I worked at is still operational in not Victoria, but a different state in Australia. The place I worked in closed down 5 years ago in Melbourne.
In Victoria. I know the one. I know the one you're talking about.
We all do.
Yeah.
For anyone that doesn't, look up vampire-themed restaurants.
Yeah, look that up and you'll find it. It's probably going to be the top search on Google. And then if you go about 10 searches down the list, you'll find my one as well, which was also vampire-themed.
Are you allowed to mention your name? Because I think yours might have been inspired by where I worked.
It was, yeah.
Yes.
When I've told this story on stage, I've said a different name because I didn't want to.
I know, right? I don't want to ruffle feathers.
Yeah, but people have figured it out. People have sent me the little link afterwards, being like, "Is this the place?" Because it's a pretty crazy story for the one that I worked at. I've been calling it the Coffin. I'll call it the Coffin Theatre Restaurant in Newcastle, and it was definitely inspired by the one you worked at. The lady that ran it previously was a hairdresser, and she went and saw the big stage show that you would have been involved in, but maybe the one in the other state, and then came back to Newcastle with a head full of ideas, and she turned her salon into a theatre restaurant. She gutted it.
Her hair salon?
Yeah, a hair salon. And she completely gutted it. Her and her father renovated it together and turned it into a fully functional theatre restaurant with a mini kitchenette so they could serve and cook food. And pretty much ripped off the show that you would have been doing, I imagine.
Yeah, nice.
Did you? What kind of character were you playing?
So I was I can't say the exact thing that I was because it's got the name of it in the title of what I did, but I wasn't in the show. I was working on the floor. Okay. So I was one of the characters on the floor, so to say, and I would do the bits that interacted more directly with the audience. So there was every night we'd have maybe the second intermission, somebody chasing me around with a chainsaw, and I'd run around.
We stole that.
Yeah, cool, perfect. I know a lot of places did. So I'd run around, and then they'd go out with like a fake head of mine, and like, cut this guy's head off. And then on the final night, myself and my very good friend and friend of the show, actually, Paul Westbrook, we did it in our skivvies because we're like, it's the closing down night, it's crazy. And then afterwards I was like, why did I care so much about this place?
I know it's really hard because you look back on it now however many years later and just think, wow, I really got caught up in it.
Yeah.
Why? I kind of knew it was lame.
Yeah.
But it was also the only like taste of show business that I had at the time.
You kind of get to perform every night.
You get to perform every night. You're with people that care about it, and everyone wants to be good.
Yep.
And, it's kind of like what we're saying about Magic Mike or Chippendales or whatever. It's like, it is almost it's definitely not the bottom rung of show business, but it's like it's mid-tier suburban show business. And there are really, really, really talented people there. But then there's also just some fucking guy that has a good body and can like
oddballs that have found their way in and they've just got their hooks in, and you're like, I suppose we are equals.
Yeah, I know, because I remember in our one I started as a floor character like you, but then very quickly became a performing character on stage because almost no one could sing in our one because it was just cast locally. Yeah. It wasn't a big show like yours, but like the main cast were just total amateurs who'd probably never sung before doing this show.
Wow.
And because I'd played in bands and stuff, we had a karaoke section at the end of the night where all the floor staff were allowed to get up and sing. And I think after my first night, I sang Rock DJ at the end of the first night, and then the owner of the place was like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, but you need to be in the show. We just need someone who can sing.
Holy shit. What did you get to do in the show then? Because I know our show, I mean, presumably it was somewhat based off the shows that we had on. Mm-hmm. I say we like I had anything to do with the shows being made. But a lot of them were kind of your classic cabaret acts, maybe some problematic things sprinkled in there as well. We had a lot of musical theatre performers in ours. So very talented singers, very talented burlesque artists, which it was honestly just regular paid work for them. But then they were also having to do some accents which weren't from their race every now and again.
Yeah. So I have been to your one many times.
Research.
In the years since I stopped working at my one, because I was, for a little while, I was working on a sitcom that was set in the world of a theatre restaurant. I was trying to get made. And coincidentally, my good friend Becky Lucas, who's a great comedian and one of my comedy partners, she used to work at a magic club in Brisbane that was like just magicians and stuff like that.
Holy shit.
So we together were sort of writing a sitcom that was set in the world of theatre restaurants and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we went to all the big theatre restaurants in Australia several times to kind of do some research. And
holy shit.
Always had a good time, always had a good night out. And I remember the one that you worked at, they watching that show, I went, oh, I can see everything that we ripped off at mine now. We did even like down to the same songs. And, you know, the two hosts would come out at the start and do almost stand-up comedy, kind of insult comedy to the crowd. And then there'd be essentially a showcase of performers coming out doing old songs. Someone did "Living on a Prayer" by Bon Jovi. There was a comedy one that was Tenacious D tribute, which I saw done at your one.
Yes, I remember that one very well. Yep, I've seen that far too many times in my life.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then the chainsaw thing. I mean, just so many. And then a lot of like Meatloaf, kind of like 80s. A lot of 80s rock was kind of the songs that were done. So the character I played was she'd run out of vampire sexy characters by the time I joined there. So she just started pilfering characters from movies. And the character I played was Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well-known vampire Captain Jack Sparrow, yes.
And I would sing Rock DJ and the Smash Mouth version of I'm a Believer every night. Oh my
God.
And then I would duet with her, the main lady, on Paradise by the Dashboard Light by Meatloaf. And a duet with the guy who was like the main co-host. I think his name was Rough Riff, which was like a parody of Riff Raff from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, okay.
I duet with him on... what fucking was it? It was like a Cold Chisel song or something. Like something completely not vampire, not scary. It was like K-Saran or something like that.
I remember the song started off with a theme, like vaguely horror. And then a lot of the time you're like, this is just what people in their 40s like to listen to now. I remember it just turned into that. Just cabaret versions of like, oh fuck, I can't even remember, like Red Right Hand, I think one of them was.
I remember seeing Red Right Hand at your one, and a sexy zombie girl came out and kind of told a story about death and how she died, and then that segued into Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, right. No idea. I think it's literally like, what songs can you sing? That's fine.
Exactly.
Oh fuck.
So did you enjoy yourself working there?
You know what? Honestly, Cameron, I fucking loved it. It paid all right for what it was at the time. Everyone else there was an out of work muso or stand up or actor. And at the end of the day, you'd just be an absolute arsehole to the customers, and they're like, oh, that vampire is being mean to me.
That's true. They did love that, didn't they?
Yeah. And it's like, there was a lot of shit stuff there as well, but I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy yourself? You sound like you had a slightly different, style of place for a start.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely way smaller. So the one that you worked at, I think you probably get a few hundred in, right?
300 or just under 300, yeah.
Yeah, so ours would have been maybe 100 maximum. So it was way smaller cast. It was pretty much just in a shop front, that had been redesigned to look like a theatre. So it was all very mini and crap, but it was fun for a while. It was just like... When I look back on it now, I feel like, in Boogie Nights when he's like, there's the whole montage where he's on top of the porn game and he's just loving it, but then it becomes 1980 and Bill shoots himself in the head and video comes in and everything changes. I feel like I lived through the theatre restaurant equivalent of that, where we were in the golden age of suburban theatre restaurants. It was everything was going off. And then overnight, it just became really disgusting, really druggy. And like, look, there was lots of fighting, too much alcohol. There ended up being a police raid on our place because people were selling drugs there and stuff like that. So it all became really dark really quick, and I sort of forgot a lot of it until recently, but now I'm enjoying reliving it. It's quite crazy.
I think with enough time between it, you're like, that was pretty fucked, but it's funny now. And again, as a comedian for yourself, great material.
I know, man. I've been writing so much about it lately because I'm about to tour a show next year that will have a big chunk on that time in my life. And it's been so fun reminiscing it. And I found a bunch of photos and videos as well. And it's like, oh my God. Fully, I've gone back there in my mind.
You don't have to say, does Captain Jack Sparrow make an appearance in your show?
Well, I found video of me as Captain Jack singing I'm a Believer. And I thought that I might debut that in the show.
How is that? This is something which I have the hardest time doing, is watching old things of mine. Especially when maybe it's not the best stuff in the world. Only speaking for myself here as well, obviously.
Of course.
But you've got, especially now, I'm sure you have it as well, you do self-tapes for everything. Every TV commercial audition is a self-tape. Hell, even bit parts or larger parts for TV shows or film. You're all saved onto your hard drive, and you're fucking scrolling through it, editing yourself. How do you find watching yourself back that many times?
Man, it's awful doing it for self-tapes, isn't it? It's
like, self-tapes is the worst.
I think it's horrible because you already don't love the thing that you're doing. If it's for a commercial and it's whatever, you have to do exactly what the casting director has asked for you to do.
Yep.
And it's always something humiliating, like, okay.
Always something humiliating.
Always. It's never like, hey, and you're just a cool, chill, normal guy. It's always, okay, and then we want a separate shot of you jumping up and down as fast as you can, and then a separate shot really close up of your face where you're like whispering something. It's just always so gross.
You're just doing a fun dance, like you're a dad, but you don't have kids, and we can't license the music in your audition, so just dance without the music. And you're like,
I've done so many dance ones.
Myself. Me
and
too.
I've done so many song ones. There was a period there where it was really trendy in Australian advertising to have a big bombastic musical number in songs. Recently, like within the last 2 years, there was a big Maya one for Christmas, a big Bank one, big...
Did NBN do that as well, actually?
Yeah, I think so. And there was a rugby league one as well. Yeah. I've auditioned for every single one of them and had to sing the full song and learn the lyrics and, belt it out. And then I forget about it because I don't get it, and then I see it on TV and I still know all the words to it, and it's
I hate it
disgusting.
So much. Or you learn a script for it, and then you watch it. It's like 15-second pre-YouTube video.
6 months later, you see it.
Yeah, and you're like, "Fuck! I still know these lines."
Yeah, why do I know this? Oh yeah, I read for that guy.
Yeah. Oh, that guy got it. He got 15 grand. Good for him. And you never hear back as well. And I suppose it's times have changed a bit since COVID. Obviously, we used to do it in the room a lot more. Like we would go into for anyone listening, we'd actually go in and do it in front of people so you didn't feel like a dickhead dancing in your spare room, which I quite enjoyed. Enjoyed, maybe not the right term, but like at least you got feedback and you did it to a person. Did you get a lot of people, because obviously you're a comedian yourself, did you get a lot of people asking you to be the funny, wacky guy in a lot of the TV commercial auditions?
Yeah, and I think, to your point of like missing doing it in the room, at least there you could a little bit charm people if you wanted, and you could be yourself when you came into the room and chat to them and have a little back and forth, and maybe that would be the thing that got you over the line.
I honestly think every time I've booked a commercial is because I've just had fun with the casting director.
Totally.
Every other time they see you for 30-second clips of you just being the biggest dickhead, being like, I don't know how to use this power saw. And then I'm just like, fuck, I feel like an absolute dick.
They get no sense of who you are. Even when you do your slate at the end, it's just the most stilted version of yourself. But
I find that the hardest part sometimes as well. Yeah.
It's the worst. I've got like bits that I do in slates now that I've just like sent off so many times, little jokes and gags and stuff. Never get them, but
no,
yeah,
never. That's it.
I went for a lot of fast food commercials, a lot of. I remember there was a bank ad, which I don't think it ever ended up going ahead, but it's one of those banks. I guess we're allowed to say the name of it. It's the one that has the dragon mascot. Westpac, I guess is that what it is? St. George. St. George.
Oh, St. George, that's it, yeah.
It's got a little dragon, and I went for this audition. I got many callbacks for it, where it was going to be me dressed in green lycra, but with my face visible and wings and like a dragon head and stuff. And all through, in every audition, I had to jump around and pretend I was flying and crawl around. And the idea was that I was going to be shrunk down and appearing on this guy's desk and like fucking with his stuff, like picking up his things and stuff.
I got you.
So it was very physical, very embarrassing. Lots of pretending to fly, pretending to blow fire. And I remember constantly getting notes from the director being like, I need you, when you blow fire, I need it to be surprising to you that you have this ability to blow fire. And I was like, what the fuck? Who cares? It's a little dragon. Anyway.
No one's going to watch this anyway.
No one will get it.
That's the thing.
But then they ended up, when I saw the ad go to air, they ended up just fully CGIing the character. It wasn't even a guy. It was just like a little
so upsetting. There's nothing more degrading being made to crawl around on your hands and knees in front of people that are... No, nothing against them. They're fucking bored themselves as well. They've seen 100 people crawl around on their hands and knees like all day. And you're just like, this is not what I thought. Like when I was like 14, I was like, I'm going to be in the performing arts. I'm going to make a difference with my art. And then cut to 10, 15 years later, you're crawling around pretending to be a dragon, surprised that you can breathe fire. And you don't get it as well. So
you've just get it.
Humiliated yourself for a very small group of people. And it's all recorded, of course. It's saved away on a hard drive somewhere, I'm sure. And you're just like, what is this? I had to do one once where it was for, and there's the cliched thing of like the Japanese commercial. So it was actually for a Japanese commercial only shown in Japan, but for some reason they were shooting it in Australia.
Perfect.
And it was, do you remember fidget spinners? Mm-hmm. Did you ever see the fidget cubes that kind of came along with them?
I remember someone having one, but I can't fully place it. But yeah,
just a cube essentially, and it had like one side had a switch you could play with, the other side had a like spinny thing.
Yeah, that's right. And I've seen them. Yeah,
they were selling fidget cubes in Japan. So I played a thumb that was playing with the normal stuff, and I was a plumber's thumb. Okay. And they wanted the brief for it was your Jason Statham as a plumber's thumb, and I was like, what? So I just stood against my background, did my best Jason Statham being sad as a plumber's thumb, and they loved it, and they just kept like they got me the I did the initial audition, and then the director got directly in touch with me afterwards, and he's like, I love this so much, the client just wants it slightly different, can you do it this way, can you do it this way? This went on pretty much for a full day of him just messaging me like, can you slightly like more sad at the start? And for anyone that doesn't know, you're meant to get paid for callbacks in Australia. It's not much, $70 or $80, but it's something. I didn't get paid once. I did about 15 different self-tapes. Just like literally at points where I was outside and I was like, oh, sorry, I'm out. And he's like, yeah, if you could just do it like a selfie style on your camera or on your phone. And just kept doing it. And then the next day they're like, oh, so sorry, we've gone with someone else. And I was like, was this just a fucking joke? Like,
so frustrating. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was just like, just the amount that you have to put your life on hold. You're happy to step aside down the side street next to Maya, pretending to be a thumb in an alleyway, taking time out of your life.
I've stopped telling my parents about everything. I used to tell my parents about things I was going for. Now I just never mention anything at all.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same. My partner be like, what's this audition for? I was like, you know what? It honestly doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't want to tell you because I don't want you to see the ad in 6 months' time and it's some other gingerhead guy with a beard who...
Oh my God. And for me, my nemesis, and I don't mean nemesis, friend of the show, Ben Knight, but he has stolen multiple Scottish roles off me because he's a big, giant,
with
beautiful,
a red
ginger
beard
bastard.
And long red hair,
So I'm just like, if it's a specific Scottish role, I'm like, all right, well, I'll go for it, but it'll be Ben Knight. Which is so upsetting. But it's all right. Just keep soldiering on, I suppose. But But we should start getting into some of the prepared stories. So I don't know if you've come with them grouped in any particular way that you want to tell them. I usually like to keep the most salacious ones till the end, keep these beautiful perfects listening until the end. I find that grouping them together goes quite nicely as well. I've had a lot of different performers on here, so a lot of nudity stories come up. So if you have any nudity stories, they always pair quite nicely with each other. Otherwise, a lot of additions. And then from a lot of the past comedians as well. I mean, I'll be impressed if you don't have a corporate gig story. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, of course I do. Of course I do.
Perfect. Shall we start with that one then?
Yeah, sure. It's and it's not. I want to go on record first by saying it's a good organization.
Yeah, that's good.
And this is nothing against the organization, but it was a bad match between comedian and organization and event runners.
It always is. Yeah. It always is. No matter, I mean, I don't know who pairs well with any organization, but from every other comedian I've had on this show, great comedian, great organization, and they go together like water and oil. Man. I don't know why.
I don't even really know. I've thought about it a lot, like what would be the perfect companies to pair me with, and I do a lot of music stuff. So I'm like, put me with any like guitar company or like get me
a good idea.
Doing the Fender luncheon or something like that, and I can at least do some songs and tell some music stories and stuff. But this particular one is from a couple of years ago now, and I got booked to do 20 minutes of stand-up plus hosting a raffle for a charity night.
Okay, nice.
In an RSL in country New South Wales, and the charity was the Black Dog Organisation. Institute, yes.
Yeah.
You're familiar with the Black Dog. You know what they do.
Aren't we all? We all? As performers, aren't we all?
We know what the Black Dog is. For anyone who doesn't know, it's essentially a depression charity. It's like, hey,
one of the free to call hotlines that you can reach out to at any time of the day. Like, do a lot of great work. And again, like what Cameron said before, nothing against the institution.
No,
this is just the unfortunate pairing.
Nothing wrong with the institution at all. Great institution. And I think if I was to do this gig now, I'd be way better prepared as a performer to be able to navigate the different tones that were going to happen throughout the evening.
Yeah,
but
I can understand where we're going with this one, and getting a comedian in sounds like a great idea.
Yeah,
but I can only imagine a lot of the topics are fairly heavy,
pretty heavy night. And so the way it was going to be originally scheduled was everyone comes in, they have dinner, then I come on stage and do 20 minutes of stand-up at the end of their dinner, and then I start introducing speakers, and then there's a raffle at the end.
Nice.
But the meals were coming out late, so people were eating later and later, and the event organizer said, why don't we do the serious talks first?
Oh.
And I foolishly said, let's do that. That would be good for me, because then they can be eating while the serious talking is happening, and then I can come on afterwards and be a fun bit of levity.
You've got their full attention.
Yeah. But as anyone who's listening can probably tell, that's not exactly how the night went, because there was two, maybe three speakers who were not only talking about depression, but talking about people that have lost their lives to suicide. And the lady before me, not only did she discuss at length and graphic detail finding her brother's body after he'd killed himself, trigger warning.
Oh my God, yeah.
But she also showed a slideshow of photos of him with his children. Set to like Fix You by Coldplay or something, like something really...
Just like, a real tearjerker.
Yeah, or like maybe Bridge Over Troubled Water, something really emotional. People were... And it was like the whole song, like 4 minutes long. The song's building up. It's dramatic. People were bawling their fucking eyes out And the family of that guy were there as well.
Oh,
so his family are there. They're bawling their eyes out. They're looking at this amazing slideshow of their uncle or, their brother, like in happier times with his children. His children are there. And then she finishes, the slideshow finishes, and her exact words were, well, now to cheer us up, it's comedian Cameron James.
You come out with your guitar and you're like, I've got a funny little version of Fix You by Coldplay to sing now.
I tried, as I was watching the slideshow, I was like disassociating really because I was just thinking, how am I even going to attempt to jump from this tone back to a light tone? And the way that I decided to do it was, I thought I would do some material about my family up first because it's quite relatable. I can talk about my grandmother and my brothers and my parents and tell some funny little stories about each of them. Everyone here has families, but the way I attempted to get into it was I said, let's give it up for, Leanne, whatever her name was, for being that was such a beautiful, presentation, please round of applause. That was so beautiful. And the family are here as well. You guys are so brave and you've been through a lot and I'm so happy for you guys. Your family, you're all here together. I've got a family. My family are a bit weird. My grandmother's a bit kooky. It was like that quick of a whiplash.
Oh, wow.
Trying to get into my material. And, I mean, silence is generous. It was like a black hole. I was just talking to nothing. I couldn't even hear... Like, normally people, when they tell this kind of story, they're like, I could hear people eating again or the clinking of glasses. I think people were just staring like, what are you doing? Like they were watching a car crash.
I mean, that's kind of were. No offense to yourself, obviously. But...
They kind of were. It was really like they were watching me flounder. And then my material was just getting sillier and sillier too, because I guess I thought I'll close on my biggest, stupidest stuff, which is... at the time, a song that I had about my dick. So I was just like, I knew the whole time I'm building up to a song about my dick and they're already not on board with my most relatable stuff. And I just had to go through it. I did my time. I got all the way to the end of the song. By the end of the song, like, people are being a little bit more polite. They're kind of...
That's nice.
Smiling at least, like kind of smiling at me and stuff. And then I finished the song and there was a break for half an hour. And then I had to come back out and host a kind of talent show.
Okay.
Like the lady who'd organised it had gotten some local performers to come on and do, I think there was 2 musicians and 2 dance numbers.
Okay.
And the musician that came on after the first break, who just did covers, was getting infinitely better laughs than me.
Oh, no.
Just in his between song chat.
Oh, no.
Like, everything he said, because he's from the area, he knew a lot of the people there, I guess. He just had so many great little lines. He was referencing people in the crowd, referencing local companies. He'd say things like, whatever it was, like, we won't be going to Daryl's Bakery tomorrow, and everyone would just lose their minds laughing at that. And I'd be like, what the fuck is Daryl's Bakery? Why didn't I know this shit? And then one of the dances was a mother and daughter burlesque dance routine. And that was interesting. And so I thought, watching that, I thought, okay, I'll come off the back of them and make a few like jokes about how it's weird that they're a mother and daughter burlesque team and how that's a bit Game of Thronesy or whatever, which is like code for incest when you're trying to not say incest. And just silence off that. People kind of getting angry that I'm making fun of the mother and daughter team.
Jesus Christ.
And then at the end of the night, I had to host a raffle, and all I can remember is I was just white lining it, like white knuckle, trying to get through this evening, trying to raffle off things as quick as I could. And at the very end, I had a beer on stage with me. I put my beer down on the podium at the end of the last raffle, and it fell and shattered, and beer and glass just went all over the stage. And that's the only laugh I got in the whole night, was just people laughing at me dropping my pint of beer.
I say this every time, every show. Laughing at you or laughing with you, it's still a laugh when you're on stage.
That's how I took it. I was like, that's a win. And I went, thank you very much. Thanks for coming out, everybody. And just ended on such a high because I'd gotten my first laugh of the evening.
Fuck. That's just like everything's obviously out of your control. Like you didn't have any idea that it was going to be that full on. But the mother and daughter burlesque thing, that's fucking weird.
It was weird.
Why is everyone so defensive about that?
It was really weird, man. And it was I remember it was to that Evanescence song, Bring Me to Life, which is a bit emo, a bit dark.
Was this late 2000s?
Yeah, a bit sexual. It was all a bit odd for me. They had it was like pole dance routine as well. So they had two poles on stage and they were kind of pole dancing in unison, and it was all a bit much. And yeah, I thought that was a slam dunk to make fun of that, but it was, they were like, no, don't make fun of Leslie. No. She's worked very hard on that routine.
Yep, you have any idea how hard their life's been? Yeah, this is the only thing that gets them out of the house nowadays. We're fine. Talk bad about Daryl's Bakery all you want, but these two are fucking saints.
These two are saints. And I remember they'd put me up in a hotel for the night, but it was about 3 hours drive from Sydney, but I just drove straight home. I couldn't do it. I was like, I just got to go home.
Yeah.
And I think, the Black Dog rode home with me in the car that night, I remember.
Well, maybe that's why people were... And they shouldn't have been so hard on you as well. You're like, maybe we should give this guy a few laughs. I mean, he's going to be the next one. He'll be an in memoriam for next year. But
well, they ended up asking me to do it again the next year, weirdly.
So did you come out and just smash a pint glass on stage as your opener?
Thank you. I didn't do it. I was so rattled, but I was so confused that they asked me to do it again. My manager got in touch and said, you're not going to believe this, but the same lady has said, hey, we loved him. We want him back.
Wow. Holy. I mean, like, in all fairness, how do you follow a 4-minute video tribute of a very in-depth
I guess they just felt sorry for me. That's why they asked me back. But there's either that or maybe they're just remembering the smashing of the pint glass, and replaced that memory with the entire night. It was the only time they've laughed. But
you left them on your best gear. But
I guess. I mean, now I should open with that. It is pretty good.
I mean, it would suck to be the next person on stage after you, but you know it works. It's a slam dunk in that respect. So, in the comedy world as well, do you ever hear about who maybe got booked for it the next year or anything like that?
You often hear about who had it the year before you. That's the main thing people will say. When you show up at a corporate, they'll often say, we had Dave Thornton last year and he was great. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then you do mediocre and you're like, well, fuck, now I'm just directly compared to Dave Thornton who did great. Whatever.
But it's so funny as well. I was saying this... we had Aaron Gox on the show, who actually I think is being released after your episode, so I will have Aaron Gox on the show. But I was saying to him recently as well, I was like, comedy's such a broad spectrum, but everyone just sees it as comedy, whereas you don't just see music as music. Like, you got jazz and rock and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, well, maybe that was a Dave Thornton crowd, not a Cameron James crowd.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so...
I think it's so hard. I can understand intellectually what you mean by that, but when you're in it, it's so hard to not just compare yourself to the person they loved.
I've been there a lot where people are like, oh, the crowd just wasn't great tonight. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I think I was just bad.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. And I'm sure maybe it was part that as well, but... Yeah, there's more talented people than me, and I'm just saying this for myself. There's more talented people than me out there, so maybe they just would have liked to have seen someone else. Hello. Now, not to interrupt all of these wonderfully awkward stories, but Coffee on Cue is back at it again. Introducing the Coffee on Cue Filter Coffee Brewing Pack, your ticket to enjoying these embarrassing moments with a perfect cup of coffee. This incredible kit includes a 2-cup V60 pour-over filter brewer, matching filter papers, and 250 grams of their Ethiopian Guji single origin coffee, specially roasted for filter brewing. This is the gift for the coffee drinker in your life, or for an office Kris Kringle, or anyone that says, I don't really want a present this year. And the best part, Well, we've got an exclusive offer just for you beautiful perverts. Head over to www.coffeeonq.com.au, and that's QCUE, right now, and use the code WBFT15. That's WBFT15 at checkout, and you'll score a fantastic 15% off your purchase. So, whether you're brewing up awkward stories or sharing a laugh over a cup of delicious filter coffee, the Coffee on Q Filter Coffee Brewing Pack is here to make every moment extra special. And that'll happen with your WBFT15 15% discount. So don't miss out on this incredible deal and the opportunity to give the perfect gift this holiday season. Visit www.coffeeonq.com.au and use WB15 for your 15% discount and start embracing the awkward, one cup of coffee at a time.
Well, I did and this is, I won't tell a full story here, but I did a similar type of thing recently to that story. It was a corporate. It wasn't set up great for comedy. There weren't people that were really interested in paying attention to someone talking.
Yeah.
They were mainly just there to have a good time and chat with each other. And I had to do 20 minutes. And this time, rather than trying to connect with them or trying to, you know, like individually look people in the eye and draw them to me, I just lent into being background noise, and it was way better. It was way better. Like, the people that were listening had a good time. There was no flop sweat on my behalf. And I think the lucky thing about it is that I did have a guitar. I do some music stuff. So if I want to be background noise, I kind of can a little bit. I can just
whip out a Wonderwall. Just play that and repeat.
You're saying that as a joke. I literally started playing Wonderwall in the middle of the set.
No fucking shit.
Because no one was really listening anyway. And I just went, fuck it, I may as well have fun. And I started playing, I played the verse and chorus of Wonderwall. And then people started cheering and loving it. And then I just sort of segued into one of my own songs, and they kind of stayed on board for a bit, and then eventually their interest went back to chatting to each other at their tables. I didn't really care. I was like, I had them for a second, even if it was technically the Gallaghers that got them. That was still me.
That's fine. It was Cameron James, or the Gallaghers by the way of Cameron James.
Yeah, exactly.
I worked at a function fairly recently, and I will not name the function. Very, very large company though. An entire stage built outside of their place of work just for the entertainment.
Wow.
They had 3 separate entertainers on, 2 dwindling crowds, I want to say. One was a b-boy troupe to a group of maybe 10 people.
Okay.
The next person was a Voice Australia winner or participant. I can't quite remember. She did it to a group of 3 people. The final performer, nobody. Played his entire half-hour set. Fucking good on him. Really nice guy. Had a chat with him. Nobody was there.
Was he a singer or something? What was he?
Singer, guitarist. So it was just a little one man.
Nobody. Oh my god. Yeah, I've done that. I played as a covers musician for many years in my early 20s, and I've played to literally just the bar staff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of better because you just know you're getting paid. You don't really have to turn it on.
And this was a big company as well. And I do not know the actual price they got paid, but it would have been in 4 figures range.
Yeah, you would have done well.
Fucking good on them.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't mind. I just like wouldn't even sing probably. I'd just play some instrumental stuff.
Yeah, right. Just a bit of background. That's fine. That's all people want anyway.
It's totally fine.
Much rather that than an audience who's angry to be watching you. A lot of people, like even at the aforementioned theatre restaurants, they get dragged there as a work party. They don't give a shit.
Yep.
So they're begrudgingly there. And then other places as well, like in the theatre, if people are dragged along by their friends, like, I fucking hate theatre. What do you mean I can't sit here and talk and be on my phone? And so I'd much rather just nobody rather than that kind of an audience as well, honestly.
Although I will say I've done stand up to maybe 2 people, and that's really hard. But music's different. Music, it doesn't really matter. If no one's there, who gives a shit? I can just entertain myself. But trying to talk to 2 people is really difficult from a position of power. You know?
Exactly.
There's
right.
nothing casual about it.
Those 2 people paid to see you as well. That's always the biggest problem.
It's awful. You just feel bad
you were
for
mentioning. Yeah, I know you were mentioning Edinburgh before as well. Have you done Edinburgh Fringe?
I've never done it. I've been to Scotland on holidays a couple of times. I've got family there. I've been to Edinburgh just as a tourist.
Yeah.
But I've never done the Fringe. I think I'm thinking about doing it this year. But
yeah, nice. Well, I don't want to put you off by what I'm about to say then. But I went to acting school in Edinburgh. I've done plays in the Edinburgh Fringe and stuff like that. And they've always been relatively busy. And then you meet all the other artists, all the other stand-ups who have paid $12,000 to come over from Canada. And they booked out a venue without seeing it. And it turns out it's just the front living room of somebody's place. And one person turns up. And it turns out they just came in because it was raining outside and they got a free ticket. And they do not give a shit, but they still expect a full show. And it's just like... Oh, I don't know if I could go through with a full 45 minutes worth of stand-up in that respect.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've done the Melbourne equivalent of that when I did sketch shows for my first few Melbourne comedy festivals with a couple of other performers.
Yep.
And I think, the smallest crowd we had was maybe 3. But to try and do like full committed big sketch characters to 3 people was really difficult because you can you can see their faces when they look sorry for you, and you're like, you should feel sorry for me. This is humiliating.
Because you keep catching their eye as well whenever that happens, especially with sketch comedy. A lot of the time it's quite big.
Yeah,
you're doing this big performance and you just see somebody arms crossed in the audience being like, oh God.
Yeah.
Like they're politely sitting there trying not to like stare at the ground.
So I feel bad for them. My empathy is totally with them there. I'm like, I'd also be hating being where you are right now.
Yeah, I've made the mistake of sitting in the front row sometimes going to see friends' sketch shows. And it was a bad idea because it was bad. And I'm just like, I can only pretend to laugh so many times. And then the rest of the time I just wear in my face just like watching a car crash as well. Everybody's done those shows as well. Like, I'm not saying anything bad against that. Like, we've all done it.
I've been in them. I've seen them. Yeah, I totally understand.
I'll be honest with you as well, though, Cameron. I kind of like watching them sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the problem with us as people that have been performing for a long time is like, we want that. We kind of want to see chaos. We want to see something bad so we can at least tell people about it later, about how bad it was.
I'm sure you get this all the time as well as a comedian. You'll accidentally tell somebody that you don't know what your actual job is, opposed to making up a lie. And I do that as well. So I'm a stunt performer, so I'll tell people that sometimes, especially on set. If you accidentally tell an extra you're part of the stunt team, they will tell you so many fucking things about them being a quote-unquote stunt performer as well. And all the quote-unquote stunts that they've done and how they do all this stuff, and it is hilarious.
Oh my God.
When you get trapped with them, it's a bit rough sometimes. And this isn't every extra as well. I bag out extras a little bit on the show. I have been an extra myself previously, so I feel like I can say this. Yeah. But there's a lot of fucking bizarre human beings that are extras. But yeah, when they find out you're on the stunt team, oh boy, do they want to get involved or tell you about, I did this stunt on a student short film once. Yeah. And
it's probably one of the last cool jobs in show business is like stunt performing. I
want to say the last cool sounding job. Because you know what most of my stuff has been? Is being beaten up by far more attractive people on camera and then lying literally in the dirt at their feet as they exposit what's happening in this next scene or the previous scene to another incredibly attractive human being who is so much more like infinitely cool and composed and like talented than you'll ever be, and you're like, my God, is this what you look like in real life? But you're still trying to like show that you're cool. You're like, no, I'm on stunts. Yeah.
I mean, I'm friends with a filmmaker, Nash Edgerton, who started as a stunt performer.
Absolutely fantastic.
He's incredible.
Director now as well, but
great director, great writer, great actor. Actually, he's really he's like a fucking triple threat. But I love hearing his stories about early stunt days when it was a bit of a wild west.
Terrifying times.
Crazy stuff. And our mutual friend that we've mentioned earlier, Ben Knight's been doing some stunt stuff as well.
Oh, just a little Ryan Gosling film.
Yeah, he just got to fight Ryan Gosling in a movie.
As you do. Yeah, he's been training with one of the bigger stunt teams down here as well. He was just making his own little thing. So yeah, good on him, honestly. Yeah. But to bring it back to what I was originally saying, whenever you do mention you're a comedian to maybe somebody you don't know so well, or the classic is always if you accidentally say it to an Uber driver, do you get a lot of people trying to test out gear on you?
Yeah, I mean, I rarely say it these days for that reason. But I remember you just reminded me of this because we've been talking about commercials and stuff recently. But it was a couple of years ago now, I was a featured performer in a commercial for some insurance company. I actually can't even remember the name of it, but Alec Baldwin was the face of the campaign.
I remember these, yes.
Yeah, do you remember these ads? So we shot in Sydney, but Alec shot on a green screen in LA or something, and they just comped him into our sequences. It
kind of seemed like that, I'll be honest with you. But
not
really, to say anything bad against Alec Baldwin.
So we're acting to no one, and then when you see the ad on TV, Alec is standing at the table with us. Which was great. Like, I just thought it was so funny that there was that much level of production going into this terrible ad. They so desperately wanted Alec Baldwin to be the face of it that they were willing to go the extra mile to comp him in.
Irony of that now as well.
I know.
I wonder how that company's doing.
I know. Just actually, isn't that the whole problem with the Rust thing? Was that they didn't use insurance? That they didn't have like a unionized crew?
Yeah, all the unionized crew, I think, worked off the day or 2 days before it. Again, do not listen to me. I don't know anything about this.
That's just what I read. But something like that. But I remember chatting to another one of the feature performers on the ad about being a comedian, and he started telling me basically how funny he was.
Oh, good stuff.
Which was great because every story he told was like, in my opinion, one of the most humiliating things I'd ever heard in my life. I remember he was telling me that he was so funny. He was like, I'm really funny. I love comedy. I love to make people laugh. And then he told me a story, and I'll repeat it here. I'm not going to say his name, but the story he told me was he was cast as an extra in that Mel Gibson war movie that they filmed out here, Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge, yes.
And I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but Vince Vaughn is in that movie as like a general or something.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's one of those, like, we're casting Vince Vaughn against type. It's a dramatic role from Vince Vaughn.
I think it was right near Cell Block 99. Like, Vince Vaughn's trying to rebrand himself a little bit. Yeah.
After True Detective season 2. So it's dramatic Vince Vaughn, not comedy Vince Vaughn. But this extra, or this guy that I worked with, he had a scene with Vince Vaughn where he was a soldier who'd been shot. Okay. And he was dying on the ground, and there's several other dying soldiers around, and Vince Vaughn is like witnessing the horrors of war, essentially, like looking at all these dying soldiers, and it's dawning on him, wow, this is really horrific stuff that I'm witnessing. So it's an intense face acting scene for Vince Vaughn. And this guy that I worked with, he's been shot. They have a prosthetic, like his guts are hanging out, so it's he's gone through a lot of makeup, pretty cool. And he says to me, he's like, I'm a big Vince Vaughn fan. I love Wedding Crashers. All I want to do is make Vince Vaughn laugh during this scene. So what he does is, while they're rolling, so they're in the middle of like this slow push in on Vince's face while he's looking around at the horrors of war. This guy that I met, he takes his prosthetic like guts that look like intestines, I guess, and holds it down near where his penis would be, and mimes jerking it off during this intense close-up on Vince Vaughn's face.
Oh no!
And he was telling me this story like it was the most hilarious thing. And then the rest of the story was essentially Vince Vaughn clocks him in the middle of this take and just loses his mind and is just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Get this fucking guy offset. What the fuck is he doing? And starts screaming, I'm trying to do a fucking dramatic scene here. This guy's pretending his guts are his dick. Get this guy the fuck out of there. And like, the AD grabs him and drags him off set. They rip all the makeup off him. He's getting screamed at by the second AD. Like, how dare you do that? That's inappropriate behavior. We've got Vince Vaughn here, for God's sake. It's his big moment. And he like got kicked off or whatever. I loved hearing it though. It was like one of my favorite on-set stories I've ever heard. But this guy couldn't see that, to me, he was the butt of the joke. You know?
Well, it's only funny to tell the story. Like, in the story, that's not funny. You've just ruined Vince Vaughn's day and created so much trouble for everyone else on set. But that is a fucking hilarious story.
I mean,
so I don't really know where I sit with
about
this.
It's really good to hear about it. But I just can't imagine ever doing that. Like, that's...
Does anyone have the bloopers for Hacksaw Ridge as well available? Because if he was doing that whilst it was filming, like, that's on camera.
That's on camera. I can't imagine they'd put that on the Blu-ray, though.
No.
Vince Vaughn losing his shit at some extra.
Somebody jerking his little intestine dick off camera. Fuck, that is, like, again, that is why I love extras as well.
Yeah, it's the best.
No quote-unquote normal human being would do that.
No. Why would you? But this guy just thought it would be like he's in with Vince and Vince would laugh and they'd become best friends or something. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. But
Vince Vaughn's just like, that was that. I've been playing this serious character the whole time, but you know what? That's made it for me.
That's really funny.
Wedding Crashers 2, you're on it, buddy.
Yeah, you're in it.
Fuck, I love that. Whoever that person is as well. I mean, I don't personally want to hang out with you, but God bless you. God bless you.
God bless.
You're doing the Lord's work. The movie God's work. Fuck me. I'll tell a very quick story off the back of that as well.
Please.
With actually an Uber driver as well. So I got an Uber back from somewhere. It was later at night and it slipped out. The guy asked me what I did for work and I was like, oh, I'm a performer and stunty. And then from that moment, he clicked into he's everything. So he only drives Uber because he wants to. He doesn't have to. And he's a stand-up as well. He did his first gig the other night.
Oh, great.
He's in the Army Reserves, so that's how he knows he's funny. So he went because all of his squad mates laugh at him.
Oh, okay.
He said not with as well, but they laugh at him.
That's very
and
telling.
He went to an open mic the other night, first ever time. He knew it was funny and he was going to do 15 minutes. And he went up and nobody laughed and all his friends were there and they didn't laugh, but he knew that they were all wrong because he is funny. So he was it just wasn't the right place. So he was going to go to somewhere else in a couple of nights' time. And obviously, like, you know, work his way up to what he was saying was he was going to do a sold-out run at Edinburgh Fringe.
Oh, great.
Because Stephen K. Amos had done that recently.
Yeah.
So,
the 30-year veteran of stand-up comedy had sold out some
incredibly well known in Britain.
Yeah, really famous in the UK.
Yes. So he did a 30-day sold out run of the Edinburgh Fringe. So why can't this guy do it? So he says, all you need to do is head over, you know, you establish yourself the first couple of nights, word of mouth gets around, and then you just sell out every night after that. For a full hour show as well, of course.
Of course.
And then I was a little bit on the fence of being worried for my life at this point. And then being like, oh, fuck it. Do I give this guy advice or do I just let him keep going? So I just let him keep going. And then after he told me all his ideas about the Edinburgh Fringe, he was also saying he was going to become a millionaire. So all you need to do, and you can actually use this as a musician yourself, Cameron.
Thank you.
You just need to make one big song on Spotify. And then you can just live off the revenue from that. So him and his friends, who has some DJ equipment, they're just going to make this one big song on Spotify, and that's all that the money's going to need from now on. And it was a 15-minute Uber ride, but I made the mistake. I don't know why. I sat in the front seat with them, and ever since then, I've never sat in the front seat of an Uber again.
No.
So I just had to keep a straight face. I didn't know what to do. I got out of the Uber and I just stared into... It was at nighttime. I think I just stared into a park for like 5 minutes after I got out of the Uber because I was like, what the fuck just happened? Was that performance art? Because if it was, that's fantastic. Go and do that at Edinburgh Fringe. That's great.
Oh my God, that's so great.
It was the most fucking bizarre thing ever. And again, not funny in the moment, but I loved it afterwards. I just sat in bed at night. Just
those moments, when they happen, I'm never laughing in the moment, but I'm so aware in my brain that I'm going to be telling this story in about 10 minutes' time. So I'm like trying to record every single thing that they've said so I can remember it.
It is, isn't it? It's almost like when you're in a car crash and everything's kind of going slower and you're like recording in HD and you're like, I need to tell everyone this. And this is going to be a story that's getting told in 10 years' time as well.
I love it.
And love it. It was so upsetting, but I just cannot describe how much I enjoyed it. So that's my guy jerking his fake dick off to Vince Vaughn style story. So we can start bringing the podcast to a little bit of a close as well. Did we come with any other prepared stories, or did we have a big one that we wanted to finish on?
I mean, there's nothing I have that is really huge. I think that I think I might have said all the most important stuff. I've just got like little variations on the same sorts of themes. But I mean, I just wanted to get across that I am better now than I was when I did that Black Dog gig. So if anyone listening
from the Black Dog Institute
or any other corporate organization, if anyone is listening and wants to book me, I swear to God, I'm better than that. I am.
Yep. So Bupa, if you're listening, Westpac Bank. I know actually we're recording this just before Christmas. Do you have any Christmas lunch functions coming up that you're playing? Because there's still time to book you.
There's plenty of time to book me. I'll even do something on Christmas Day if it's needed. Yeah,
perfect. Yep. Exactly. All right. So Westfield Shopping Centre, if you're wanting someone for your Boxing Day sales, come in, do a tight 20 to everyone waiting outside, getting really, fucking hyped up for, I don't know, 30% off a MacBook Pro.
God. Oh my God, that reminds me just very quickly. I did get booked to do a Christmas show about 5 years ago for a big company, and they made me dress as Santa Claus during my set. And then at the end, they made me go out and give Kris Kringle presents to everybody from a sack. And I think at one point, the highlight was I said to some guy, "What do you want for Christmas this year?" And he said, "A better comedian."
Oh, fuck. Why is everyone else coming with the best jokes?
I laughed so hard. I just had to go, well, yeah, that was good. You got me there.
Did you act as Santa Claus the entire time as well? Or was it just...
It was the most half-hearted Santa. I think I started by going, ho, 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 and then I just started talking in my normal voice.
Anyway, here's a song about my dick.
Yeah.
I've never understood the requests from corporate things sometimes. I've done a couple of little ones myself before, or even when you get booked to do kids entertainers work, and like, the kids will love this. And I was like, I don't think they will, if I'm being honest with you. I think they're just there to run around and go crazy. I don't think they care about me trying to educate them about tartar on their teeth. But whatever you're paying me for, I'll degrade myself.
I'll do it.
But thank you so much for coming on again, Cam.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Where can people find you, if not at Westfield doing warm-up to the Boxing Day lines?
Dressed as an elf.
Dressed as an elf, yeah.
You can find me on all social media at I am Cameron James, and I post a lot of my tour dates on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. In fact, I'm doing a full tour of next year of a brand new hour show called Mixtape. And there will be lots of theatre restaurant stories in there.
Oh, I cannot wait to come and see that personally. I'm going to come dressed in my old costume from my theatre restaurant. I'm going to try and get as many other people from that theatre restaurant dressed up as well. And we will walk out if you're not dressed as Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yes. All right, fine. I'll go rent the wig.
Yes.
The wig with the dreadlocks.
I'm sure it's pretty discounted now as well. I don't know if he's getting dressed up as that much anymore. All of this will be in the show notes as well for anyone that wants to see it. Obviously, I recommended the Finding series beforehand too. That'll be in the show notes. So any of your podcast listening platforms or on Grouse House TV on YouTube. You've got a couple of other little bits on Grouse House TV as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I try to do stuff with those guys as much as I can. Hopefully, there's some more in the future as well. That's my tease. For possibly a new finding that's in the works.
Well, I am very fucking excited. Yes. My mental health is in a slightly better place now, but I'm going to enjoy it just as much. Otherwise, Black Dog, if you are listening, expect a call.
Thanks for having me today. That was so fun.
That's quite all right. You're also got a show on the ABC with friend of the show, Lou, as well.
That's right. What's it called again?
It's called WTFAQ or WTF Oh, no. Oh, fuck me. I'm sorry, Cameron. I've rehearsed this beforehand. What the FAQ? What's the FAQ?
That's right.
Look, it'll be in the show notes. It's easy enough to Google. I'll put it in the show notes. So please, just look in the show notes.
Thank you.
I put so much work into the show notes every week. And I really fucking hope people appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. I've had this exact same discussion on my podcast recently. Just
did you?
How much stuff I put in the show notes. And then I always wonder, do people click on the show notes?
I've done it a couple of times personally, and I know this isn't a good advertisement for people looking in the show notes, but it's for finding specific things a lot of the time.
Totally.
A lot of the time, I'm just like, I'll follow them on social media, and then past that, I'm like, oh, I just had too much brain damage in my life to remember everything else they've said there, so probably on to the next podcast now.
Yeah.
But please do listen to it in the show notes, or look in the show notes. There's the brain damage again.
Guys, you'll love the show notes. Click in there. It's exciting. There's much stuff in there. There's going to be
so many fucking links down there as well.
All
those little
links.
blue highlighted words. Click on every single one on the swear to God. Yeah. And then the same as every week, you can find WBFT. Now I can't remember my own podcast name. WBFT Pod across most of the social media platforms. You can find myself, Seb Muirhead, Muirhead, across YouTube and Instagram. If you did enjoy the show, please rate it 5 stars, subscribe. If you do rate it 5 stars, you can write something in the review box. It doesn't have to be nice. It can be something creepy. It can be something horrible. As long as you're rate it 5 stars. I don't really care. And we do have a little Patreon as well. Honestly, it just helps the show run. I know it's hard out there, but please do support it. But thank you once again, Cameron, coming all the way from Sydney. I really do appreciate this.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.